We got to make a trip to the speed shop, and we need a new seal right here, because every time we start the thing up, we get a leak, and every time we shut it off, all the fuel disappears somewhere. It takes forever to fill the carburetor bowl again. So we got some things we got to sort out there. You may remember we fixed the leaky accelerator pump under here. The guy had put a bunch of funny looking screws in there, and I think what happened is the screws bottomed out, so we had to put shorter screws in there. But when we took it apart, of course, this seal didn't survive, so we're gonna have to go get a new one. Well, we're outside on this lovely overcast and chilly day, and this is what we had to do to work on our clutch. We had to take half the car apart. We had to take this whole panel out of here, about 27 screws, and of course it was never installed in a manner that allow it to be uninstalled. It was behind this and around that and in between something else, and we had to keep taking stuff off. And I suspect before it's all done we'll have to take this bracket off maybe to put it back in there, because it kind of fits end to end, and you can't sort of slide it forward or slide it back. You really had to bend it to get it out of there. But at the end of the day, what we did, what the job was about, is replacing this master cylinder that operates the clutch. The one we had on there before was a 3/4 master cylinder, and the slave cylinder, which is buried down in there somewhere, is a 7/8. So we just weren't getting the travel that we needed to release the clutch. So this is a 1-inch master cylinder. You can see the brand, and fortunately it bolted right up in the same place. It's a high volume cylinder, but we bled the cylinder and installed it, and man, we got clutch release now. The pedal is considerably heavier. Well, I wouldn't say heavier because it wasn't really doing much of anything before, but it's got a heavy pedal. That's okay. We can live with that, but at least now we can shift gears. So the next step, really, I bought another slave cylinder, and I really haven't put it on yet because I wanted to see how everything worked, and it's working now. And I think I will go ahead and replace the slave cylinder, and we'll show you that cylinder here in a little bit. It's a little bit different than what's on there, but here we are. 2 days worth of work just to get at the clutch slave cylinder. Here's a shot of our double throw me down slave cylinder. We haven't installed that yet, and this is the master cylinder that was on there before. It's a 3/4 inch unit, and this company, CNC, is no longer in business from what I understand. They did make some pretty nice parts, and it's pretty substantial. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just the wrong size for what we were doing. Don't know why this bolt's in there. In there for show, I guess. And it's got this nice polished plate on top with a bolt in it to fill it with fluid. That's not really very handy, but you shouldn't have to fill the clutch cylinder with fluid very often anyway. So back to this unit. The reason that I sourced this unit, and it was extremely difficult to find, is the way that it mounts. The slave cylinder that's on there now has 2 bolt holes in it, and it's designed to bolt to the side of the bell housing. So in other words, the bolts are perpendicular. Yeah, perpendicular to the unit. And in the case of this Pinto, that means that there's a plate there, and there's a right angle bracket, and the slave cylinder is bolted to the right angle bracket. And what I noticed the other day in there trying to operate the clutch is that the bracket is not real sturdy, and there's enough pressure on that cylinder that it wants to push the bracket sideways. So the plate that's there that the bracket's bolted to, yada yada yada, has a big hole in it. So my suspicion is, and what I'm going to try to do, is put this right through the hole and tighten the nut up on either side of the plate. And then the slave cylinder is pushing against itself, basically, and should be nice and sturdy. But this is the only unit like this that I have found, and I'm not sure, to be honest, that they still make it. But I did find one, and at some point we're going to see if we can make it work. Well, we got our outside door handles installed, and it's really not an easy process to video, but there over here is the rod coming from the door handle, and that rod is for the door lock, the knob that pulls up and down, and then the one in the back is from the let's see, the lock cylinder, I believe. So when you push on the door handle, it pushes that down like so and unlocks the door. So once we finally got the right rods and got everything installed in there, you can see the upper part of the latch there. We got everything to work. So now we have door locks and door handles. Man, a major accomplishment. And I still have to put the piece of window track in here. I'm having a little problem with the window on this side because it's going up kind of funny. And when I say funny, it wants to, doesn't want to follow the curve, let's put it that way. It wants to tilt out about halfway up and miss the track up there. So this is the side where we had to replace the regulator, and I believe the problem is in the regulator here being bent or not spaced right, or this piece over here we had to make this piece of track. Something is just not copacetic there, and we'll have to spend some time figuring that out. And we just put a little paint around that underneath so that at least it's got some paint on it when we go to paint the whole car. It'd be nice to take all that stuff off again, but yeah, I don't think so.